Please don't touch my head under the table.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is DJ Catsanova, and I have the pleasure of speaking with a band all the way out in West Virginia, Natural Rat. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm fine. How is the COVID situation going on in West Virginia?
Well, like the rest of the country, it's a total nightmare. But West Virginia's been hit pretty hard, I think, lately. It's a weird, scary time.
Things aren't fully locked down over there, is it?
Not completely. So, they did a soft opening where restaurants and bars were opening back up. And then I think a surge happened in COVID cases.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've closed the bars back down. And I think they're sticking to like outdoor dining. And as of, I want to say within the last day or a couple days, they finally made it the law that you have to wear masks inside of any public space. Whereas before that, it wasn't the law. So it wasn't really being enforced. But now they passed a law that where it needs to be enforced. So that's actually a good thing, I think.
Yeah, actually, I think it is too, because these videos of people fighting to not wear masks is a little bit ridiculous.
Kind of scary.
All right, so how many members are official members of Natural Rat?
So as of right now, we've got 3 official members. Myself, Kelsey Cannon, we have Seth Collins on the keys, and we have Ivy Marie on bass. We're just kind of, with the changing of the seasons and with everything going on with coronavirus, we're going through some light changes. But, the fortunate thing is we kind of get to work that out together before, before shows and traveling kind of comes back into play. So right now it's the 3 of us solid.
Oh, nice. And are you all from West Virginia?
Mostly. Seth and Ivy are from West Virginia. I actually grew up in California in my youth, but I've lived in West Virginia my whole adult life. So I would, consider us to be like from West Virginia band for sure.
The funny thing that you say about that, I didn't know that you grew up in California, but your style of dress tells me California. I was like, when I found out you guys were from West Virginia, I was like, oh, like I wonder if our parents are from California. He has like a very California swag, and then now it all makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, my mother grew up, and her family still lives in Los Angeles, so I do still have some pretty heavy California roots going on.
Nice. Natural Rat, how did you guys come to be? And I have to ask because you guys are from West Virginia. Have you all ever considered doing country music?
Well, the first part of your question, I guess we came to be by actually a friend of ours who he played drums with us, Brian Sprague. He kind of got the 4 of us in a room and we kind of jammed around a little bit and it worked out and fit. And so we kind of moved forward playing together. So it kind of was just like a chance thing. We didn't actually all know each other before the first time we played together in a practice space. In terms of the country music part of the question, I would say probably not, just because that's not the type of music that I think all of us are kind of into, rock and roll and indie rock pretty directly. So country music per se hasn't really been something we've ever dabbled with. But I think it's just something that's never really arisen in any of our practices or writing sessions.
Nice. And how did you guys come up with the name Natural Rat?
So, I one day was watching the Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. There's a scene in which Indiana Jones is kind of in this like weird, kind of like a crevice, like almost like a city stream. I don't know how to describe it. Well, I don't know. It was just kind of like he was in this weird little creek type situation, and there were rats everywhere, hundreds and hundreds. I mean, probably thousands and thousands of rats. And I was just watching this movie, and I said out loud I was with a friend, and I was like, "Where did they get all of these rats? Like, did they just find these rats, or are they like natural rats?" And then I thought Natural Rat could be a cool band name.
I love hearing band name
So
stories. There's always something extremely random.
yeah,
Are you familiar with the band of Hers?
I actually am. I love that band.
Okay, and are you familiar with Strawberry Guy?
I'm actually not. No.
Okay, so you should look him up. He has really good music. He's from Liverpool, UK as well. So the story that they told me is he got his name from Auden, who was from Hers, and they went to go get milkshakes one
Oh
day.
wow.
And then he got a
Oh my
strawberry
god.
milkshake. He was like, "Oh, so you're a strawberry guy," and it just stuck. And for some reason, I love that story.
That is awesome. I'm gonna have to check him out. I was really into hers for a long time, and obviously I was really sad to hear about what ended up happening. But Strawberry Guy, I'll definitely look into it.
I'll send you some stuff. So, who would you say is your biggest influences when you're writing music?
I listen to a lot of different music. I personally probably listen to a lot more rock and roll and like anywhere from like rock and roll and psych rock, classic rock, and I mean I listen to a lot of metal as well, actually. So I'd like to think that a lot of my influences come from like pulling from different genres that I tend to listen to often. I think some of my bigger influences as acts would definitely have to be, I don't know, probably bands like The Replacements, Guided by Voices, definitely like, love Mitski. I love Ty Siegel and Fuzz, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Hmm.
Kind of goes on. So it's kind of a broad range of influences that I feel like I have.
You mentioned Ty Siegel. He actually graduated from the university that I'm currently attending. He's on my list of people to reach out to do interviews with. So,
Oh man, that's awesome. He rules. He is by far one of my favorite musicians for sure.
so when you were growing up, did your parents play music or play instruments? Is how you got into it, or?
My mother's a fantastic pianist, but aside from that, actually, most of the people in my family were either athletes or artists, and not really anywhere in between. A lot of the musical aspects of our family kind of came in my generation with my brother and I, but I'm the only one in my family who actively plays or has played like out and kind of seeks out to play music. So not really my parents much.
Have you ever considered doing music with your brother?
Yes, when we were younger, like in high school, my younger brother and I would, mess around on piano, and he played the trombone. He's a fantastic trombone player. He got to tour all over Europe when he was in high school. So we used to kind of jam around a little bit, but we never really did anything serious that, we followed through or played live. It's more of kind of like, a nice thing that we kind of like to do alone.
Do you have a sister as well? I feel like you have a twin sister.
I do. I have a sister and another brother. So I have two brothers and a sister. My sister, Heidi Cannon, she lives in Philadelphia. She's an artist. So she kind of got that artist trait passed down to her from my family. And my older brother, actually, he's a comedian.
Oh,
So
nice.
we're all kind of in the arts in a way.
Your sister's not your twin, though.
No. We're not twins. We've always been called twins, but we're about a year apart, so
Oh,
we
okay.
kind of let that linger. We don't really normally correct people if they assume.
So you guys released a 4-track EP titled Eternal Tourist. What's the message behind it?
Mhm.
And is it referencing anything specific?
Well, the term "eternal tourist" it's actually lyrics out of one of the songs off that EP called "Tractor Parade."
Falling
And the feeling behind it really, I guess, would just to be kind of, having been someone, I've relocated often throughout my entire life. And through that, it's kind of sometimes hard to feel like you have a home or like you really belong anywhere. And so, it's almost kind of like you're doomed to eternal tourism where you're always kind of visiting somewhere, but you never really get to plant down.
Mhm.
So I guess that would be kind of the term behind it. But yeah, it comes from that song, Tractor Parade.
I like that song. But my favorite song off that album is Dateline. I love that song so much. And is that
Yeah, I
song?
think that's our heavy hitter.
Yeah, it's a really really good song. I love your voice on that song. Are you
Thank you.
specifically talking about somebody, or is it for the sake of music?
No, I tried pretty hard to keep my lyrics and feelings about the songs I write away from being directed at an individual, maybe more of like a feeling or a situation. Yeah, it's definitely not about anyone specifically. I try to avoid that. I feel like those types of situations don't always end well.
Is it like collective, like from this person, from that person?
A little bit. I think you get the feeling sometimes of like realizing that you need to set a boundary, or you realize that you're kind of developing some feelings in a situation that might not need to be there. So more of a situational thing, kind of like I'm taking from collective situations I've been in my life and kind of smudging them together into making some lyrics and making a song.
So, for someone who isn't familiar with Natural Rat, who would you say your sound is similar to? And what genre would you categorize your music in?
I would definitely consider it to be more kind of like shoegaze indie rock, probably something more along the lines of
I don't think I've ever heard of
maybe like
shoegaze before.
shoegaze is kind of like a little spacey. It's almost like lo-fi kind of stuff, you know. So we don't have many songs where we're really like riffing hard. And there's not a ton of guitar solos or anything like that. Kind of more like a flow of music. So shoegaze would be kind of music you kind of vibe to, not necessarily something you're getting super amped up and pumped about necessarily.
All right.
I think a lot of that probably derives from my love for like Guided by Voices, which I would consider, a rock and roll shoegaze band, I guess, to an extent.
And now, like I kind of was doing my research and I didn't know this, but West Virginia has a thriving music scene. So, but do you guys
Yes.
plan to be rooted in West Virginia or be an eternal tourist and move somewhere else like New York or Los Angeles back to your hometown to like really jumpstart natural rap?
We've been lucky enough to be able to start kind of traveling out just in the last year and a half that we've been a full band. We kind of were able to start branching out, playing as far as DC and far out in Kentucky, places in Virginia, all over West Virginia, a few places in Pennsylvania. Actually was trying to reach for a show in New York that probably would have been happening, ideally if COVID hadn't hit, unfortunately. But in terms of relocating as a band, because West Virginia has been really good to us, I think. I also love the state. I think it's beautiful. I think we get a lot of different aspects of music. We also get a lot of different aspects of people. I like the hominess of West Virginia and the warmness and openness and welcoming part of it. So, as long as we have the opportunity to travel, I don't necessarily think there'd be a reason, unless, collectively we decided if we got some crazy opportunity or tour situation. I think that our main goal is more to be able to travel and to be able to come back home after. That's something I kind of like the thought of that.
Nice. And who's a act you guys would like to share the stage with? Like, who's a band that you would be like, you know what? I would love to do a show with them. I would drive all the way to the West Coast to do a show with them.
Man, I could go on. I mean, I could just start naming some if you'd like.
Who's the first three that comes to mind?
There's a band in LA actually called the Paranoids, who it's an all-girl band that I am obsessed with. I would love to play with them someday. I would definitely love to play with, in some form, if I were ever to be able to be around someone like Ty Segall. That would be sick. I've gotten the opportunity to open for some pretty cool bands, like the Aesthetics, who are based out of DC, who are members of Fugazi. So we've gotten to open for them before. So, I mean, we've been pretty lucky so far. I mean, I'd share the stage with anyone I admire, honestly, but those two are probably two that I would go a little nuts over.
Who do you think is the top, let's say, top two artists you're listening to right now that you find yourself over and over just constantly listening to their music?
Right now, I personally have been on a pretty heavy, as usual, I listen to a lot of Ty Segall and his projects like Fuzz, CFM. But so probably any Ty Segall project, and or I've been listening to a lot of Jeff the Brotherhood. I've also been listening to a lot of Mac DeMarco, but it's summertime. So.
Oh my God. So I'm at the last question right now, and I usually ask this artist or that artist, and I usually ask, if you had to pick, would it be Mac DeMarco or Home Shake? But because you guys are from West Virginia, I was gonna ask you Brad Paisley or Bill Withers. But then you said
Bill Withers, no question.
Oh, okay. And then now I'm assuming that if I would have asked you Mac DeMarco or Home Shake, you would have went with Mac DeMarco.
Yeah, probably.
That is my guy right there. He's like the first person.
Yeah, he's cool. I've actually not gotten to see him live, but I watch a lot of his live shows pretty often, and I like what he puts out there, energy wise.
Yep, I was gonna say I was fortunate to meet him a few times, and went to a few of his shows.
Wow,
his energy always the same. He'll play like some random song. I saw him at the Greek Theater in Berkeley, and he played I forgot.
Oh, wow.
I Could Walk 1,000 Miles, and they was just like playing that song for like 10 minutes, and I was like, what the fuck? But it was like so awesome.
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of their live stuff, and they tend to. It seems like they kind of whip out some funny covers that you don't expect. I appreciate that. It's something that I'd like to be able to implement at some point in time if I have the skill.
All right, so now we're gonna get to the random question part of the interview. First question: what's something that you've never been able to do well?
Like anything?
Anything.
Wow. I am terrible at snowboarding. I'm just terrible at it. Tried it a couple times, just not for me.
I've never.
I guess same goes for ice skating. I think most ice sports are not for me. It might be because I spent my formative years on the West Coast where it was warm and there was no ice. But yeah, those two things off the top of my head are things that I have never ever been good at.
Is West Virginia big on like snow sports?
Actually, yeah. There's plenty of there's a few resorts within a couple of hours of where I live in Morgantown, West Virginia. I know there's a place called Snowshoe. There's a few other places. I know lots of people who live in and grew up in West Virginia who are really active in winter sports. But I'm more of like a hang out at the cabin, drinking whiskey, waiting for everyone to come down the hill kind of gal.
Since you're bad at snowboarding.
Yes.
What things do you do every day that you wish could be automated? Just one. What thing? I said things, but just to go with one.
Like automated, like something that would just happen?
Yep, like you going grocery shopping or using the bathroom.
For sure. I guess exercising. I'm pretty big on exercising, keeping my lungs in shape so I can sing sometimes. So I mean, definitely exercising, but it's something I normally do just about every day anyway. But that would definitely probably be what I choose.
Yeah, I got to go to the gym after this anyway, and I'm dreading it right now. So that would probably be mine as well.
Yeah, I got to go on a run later, but I'm drinking a beer now, so we'll see.
And this is the last question. All this is like, what would you do kind of things. What's something weird that you would recommend everyone try at least once? Like,
it has to be something that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm just going off with the card say. So weird, I don't know what would be something weird. Like, I don't know.
I genuinely think that everyone should at least once, I mean, not during coronavirus or whatever, but I think everybody should go to their local dive bar. I'm talking about know when their age is really going. It's really for the older folks. Go in there alone and befriend your community, befriend those old weirdos at the bar. Something that I have done in my life. And I don't know. I think it's nice. It's kind of gives you a peek into different generations of and walks and steps of life. And I don't know. I think dive bars are cool, and I think sometimes maybe people are afraid to go places alone. But I think that's something important you should do.
Does Morgantown have a lot of dive bars?
There's a couple. We've got one, infamous bar called Jean's Beer Garden. It's the neighborhood townie bar. We've got 123 Pleasant Street, which that's our local music venue where I bartend at and play music at occasionally. And I would consider that to be a dive as well. But yeah, so we've got a couple. There's a place called Mundy's. You know, we've got a couple little rando places that are cool spots I like to go to. You know, in a normal world.
Nice. West Virginia is like pretty much all of the southeast states are places that I haven't been. I've been to 32 states, but like West Virginia,
Oh wow.
Alabama, and all of them I have not yet.
Come on down when all this COVID stuff's over, and I'll show you all the cool places to go.
Oh, yes, please. And then hopefully you guys are playing so I can see you live.
Yeah, that would be a dream.
Yes, it would be. Well, Kelsey, thank you so much. Tell Ivy and Seth I said hello.
Thank you. I sure will. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Take care.
Bye.
This interview was edited by Steve Francis of Stush Music. Be sure to follow me on all your social media platforms at DJ Catsanova for new music, a playlist every Friday, and shows happening in the Bay Area. Stay cool, cats and kittens.
Is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcast.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.